off-road racing dominance. Proprietary patented race technology. Proudly made in the USA. Unparalleled customer service and support. The choice of champions. King Shocks. The leader in off-road shock technology.
Mark, why does the Growers Company buy Ford? Is there any particular reason for that?
Yes, we do, because we depend on a good product, and Ford has been good to us in the past. We put a lot of miles on our vehicles, and they hold up for us, Joe.
And it was a long time ago, Mark, but you're still buying Ford trucks from Alexander Ford.
We sure do, and we get the same great service even today at Alexander Ford.
Alexander Ford. We were here for you then, here for you now, and long into the future. A difference you can count on.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Fishgistics. This is our Baja 500 wrap-up show. Cameron Steele here hosting alongside my good friend Austin Fish Farner. Fish, you ready to rock and roll for this Baja 500 wrap-up?
Oh, yeah. I think this is going to be a good one.
I bet you do. So Fish loves nothing more than a little drama, in case you guys are wondering. So he's a purveyor of drama. And, of course, I'm sure he loves to spin up the videos and all that stuff. I'll just say that we didn't have a great race in the number 16. I know some other people did have good ones. It was a tough race course. Score has been working hard to put some fun out there for us. And we're going to do this in two segments. The first segment will be non-drama. And then the second segment will be all drama. Just kidding. We're going to have the trophy trucks a little bit later. In the second segment, we'll have Larry Rossler, our winner of the Baja 500, Luke McMillan. The fastest driver on the day, Andy McMillan, will be with us, as will Alan Ampudia. But right now, let's talk about some of the classes that are not trophy trucks. Some of our favorite racers, some of the people that we really respect their efforts. I'll do a quick introduction if I can. Down there, I've got Stan Potter, Buggy Dork, as I like to call him, because I am a Buggy Dork. Stan and I used to race against each other in the Score Lights, or Class 12. And he's a winner of Class 10 this time with his partner, Freddie Willard. Brandon Sims down there as well. He's the overall winner in UTVs. Not his first time winning, but his first overall in the UTVs. He has won the Baja 1000 and 500 in class previously. Alex Gonzalez joins us. He is a Class 11 racer, which I respect as the most hardcore group of racers in the desert. Alex is a former trophy truck spec driver and has made the shift to the hardest class on the peninsula, if I'm not mistaken, Class 11. And then my good friend and former racing partner at times with Pistol Pete Soren, Jason McNeil, with his first win in trophy truck spec. Great driver I respect greatly. And like I said, done some battling with him in the trophy truck class as well, owner of Fiberworks down in San Diego. Welcome, everybody, to Fishgistics. Let's get our game on. Let's start with you, Alex, since you said thank you. What an amazing feat to be able to finish Class 11. That's pretty incredible. That's a tough race course for any class. But after all of us donkeys with the 40-inch tires, then the donkeys with the 37s, then the donkeys with the 35s, then the guys with the 33s all go through, and all the four-wheel drive UTVs.
Yeah.
Here comes the Class 11s. And you guys are on, if I'm not mistaken, 31-inch tires. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're between 29 and 30. So, right in there. So they're smaller than UTVs.
So when you're watching the videos, Alex, and you see all these guys, everybody complaining about the silt beds and stuff in these unlimited classes or higher clearance classes with no fenders, are you just like,
yeah,
I don't understand. Doesn't compute.
No, no. I mean, it's tough for everybody, especially, us. I never complained. I hope not too much when I was racing trophy spec, but oh no,
wait a minute. Everybody that races trophy track the spec complains. So just, it's just part of it.
I just yeah. No, so I mean it's a whole nother challenge. We're used to running 39s and score and 37s best in the desert. And then, to come and do it with 29s and limited ground clearance and probably 60 horsepower to the wheels, it's pretty amazing what they go through. You can't explain it to anybody that has never done it. People after the race were asking me, well, is it dusty? Is it bumpy? Is it, what's it like? Is it hard? No, someone that has never done it, you can't really explain it.
For sure. Quick question. I'm going to move on to someone else, but I do have a question. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Score still keeps some of the stock transmission parts or mandates more stock transmission parts than other groups, if I'm not mistaken. And do you guys still have to race with a stock VW shifter?
There's some cars that run, other shifters. I think like Pro-Am or similar. We still run a stock one. It just, it's lasted and it's proven, and it just feels, right. So we have never changed it.
There's 6 of us here on the air at Fishgistics. How many of us have driven with a stock VW shifter in a race before? Just Fish, myself, and Alex. Stan Potter, I'm kind of surprised that you hadn't. I know you're, I fawn the fun of the buggy dork title. I am a buggy dork at roots. I came from the 1600 class. For those of you guys that don't know, the reason why we chose number 16 is because I grew up racing 516 and 1600. So I have a lot of love for the buggies. Stan, I mean, you're just a guy that keeps coming back and whooping on people, and I credit to your partner, Freddie Willard. But I mean, you have a huge history of winning in the buggies and doing great in the Score series. Congratulations on pinging another win.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, this was our first class 10 win. And, we just got into the class. We, like you said, we raced in 12. I raced with Dan Worley for a long time in 12, and then, I kind of got out of it for a while. And then Freddie, was really sort of cool and got us back in. And then, we raced class 12, won a championship a couple of years ago. And then we just got this class 10 car. And yeah, it's, it's just great to go out and do it, and still be able to do it at a high level, and, super competitive class now, and, probably more competitive than class 12. And yeah, we're
get my shotgun out, Fish? Is it all right to get my shotgun out?
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to point out he's doing it in a single seater too,
Hold
right?
on. Dan, is this the same 10 car that Travis Clark ripped the end off of at the San Felipe race or Baja 1000?
I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not going to answer that question.
But coming in hot on Travis. I know it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
There's an issue there, but Travis is one of my best friends. And what's funny is you and Travis raced against each other in that class 12 for a long time. And Travis and his team with Tim Noe and
Tom Watson,
who I raced with earlier this year, man, they had a lot of championships. I know there's a lot of great battles there for sure. So it must've been fun to team up with Travis.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it was a really unfortunate thing for that to happen to Travis. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And, the honest truth is it could happen to anybody,
He has one of the greatest Baja stories of all time now. So I think it's okay. You guys have cleaned it up. You guys are racing again. It's all good. So He's
watching too, he said, Cameron.
What's that?
He said, tell Cam I'm watching.
I knew he was watching. I just love him. I'm just giving him a hard time. So, hey, Brandon, so you're a little bit younger than us here with the buggy dork thing, but I got to ask you, have you ever raced a limited buggy? Because, for me, and Stan, correct me if I'm wrong. I know that everybody they can see what they see, but when I see the new UTVs that are racing, I look at them all. Is that a 10 car? It's really hard to tell the difference. Did you have buggy routes before the UTVs?
No, the only routes I had coming into UTVs was quads. I used to race quads. So, I mean, that was the only introduction I had into the UTVs. And I was into them since Yamaha Rhino came out. That's kind of where I started. And as everything's evolved, I've gone, to the Polaris Razor platform. But yeah, nothing in the buggies ever.
Nice.
We used to do, I guess, technically my dad used to go to the sand dunes and we had a buggy. So, I mean, a lot of experience in the sand with buggies, but nothing in the dirt.
In the sand dunes, did you have a stock shifter?
I want to say it wasn't a Volkswagen car. It was definitely a long travel, high horsepower buggy. So no, we didn't have a stock shifter in that one.
Just checking.
Yeah.
How about that competition in the UTVs? I mean, I know I do this Score TV show. We talk a lot about the UTVs and how big the classes are. It's got to be pretty crazy for you. Do you guys track during the race just your class, or do you track for the overall so you understand what's going on with the other classes as well?
Obviously, yeah, the competition's getting insane. I mean, we do Best of Deserts, obviously some score now, the Martelli races, and King of the Hammers. So there's so much competition in all these different races now. As far as this one went, we only tracked the people in our class. And if we knew if we had a good run, there was probably no doubt that we were going to get the overall. It wasn't, once you start running into issues, that's when you kind of have to start looking at the other classes. But we didn't run into much issues except for the very, very end. We ran into a small issue that could have changed our day, but we were able to overcome. But yeah, we just basically watched our class.
I would like to point out that the UTVs did beat the class 10 cars overall. I just had to point that out here.
Oh, Stan,
I know that the 10 cars got them at the King of the Hammers shootout.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's, so we got a good excuse. We lost 25 minutes off the start, and we were dead last behind all the UTVs. We passed all of them except for 2 at the end. And the UTVs have this great little trick where you light them up with the blue light, and they immediately acknowledge it. Like you're gonna go ahead and pass, but they keep their foot on the gas. In fact, they even go stronger. So that's the trick that UTVs play.
I think if they do that twice, you can actually do what do you call protest against them. Just saying. I'm not exactly sure.
Are you guys allowed to hit the UTVs yet, or no? Are they still a no nerf?
Yeah. I mean, our front bumper has some UTV on it. From the 500 for sure. So
things.
But I mean, that's definitely not the preference.
Definitely not. The things have changed though, because now you're racing against this vehicle that's very similar with 4-wheel drive. And I mean, going through those mountain roads, it's a lot easier to conserve tires and also get through those segments and pick up your speed quite a bit. So it's impressive. I mean, the class 10 is impressive, but the UTV is definitely a very impressive piece of equipment.
There's definitely certain courses that we are a little bit quicker in certain areas. I raced against them at King of the Hammers in the desert race. I'll be the first to admit, I know we're not faster than them in big races like that, or at a course like that. The bigger tires, the limited suspension, that I had nothing for them. I tried, and they're definitely faster. Now Silver State 300, certain races where there's lots of turns, lots of corner to corners and stuff, we're definitely quicker. But there's no doubt. I mean, I know I got passed by him. I don't remember at what point, but yes, they're the top 10 or the top guys in the 10 cars are definitely faster than us. I'll be the first to admit that.
Right on. Well, speaking of faster than all of you, the trophy truck specs were faster than all of you, if I'm not mistaken. Is that true?
Sixth overall.
Sixth overall. That's a pretty darn good stat. Jason McNeil, it's your turn on the hot seat, buddy. But I think it's pretty cool the effort I've seen your brothers out there. I know you guys put a lot of effort into racing, and when you're racing, you're very committed. A lot of good pre-running from your side, but congratulations on your first spec truck win. That's really impressive, bud.
I appreciate that, Cam. We started off in the class 7 back in the day. I mean, just like you mentioned, it's a family thing. So I had both brothers co-driving with me. One started. TK is the one that normally starts with me. We kind of jive the best. We have the most time together in the car, clear back in the trophy truck days when we were battling out with you. But he started the race with me, got out right at 2:27, and then my brother Chad for the first time rode with me, and he actually got a little bit sick there, and it was probably a blessing in disguise because TK, right when I needed them, and we're the ones that kind of play the best together in the car. He got in back at Santo Tomas, and I was getting beat by, I think it was 9 minutes by Brockhager and Hancock. So we're able to get around Dickerson in a Brenthal trophy truck and close the gap and come in right on their bumper. So it was kind of meant to be, and we've had some really good trophy truck spec runs. This is the first one that we everything came together. It's not like trophy truck. I mean, down in pre-run, and here I am hanging ribbons about potential bottlenecks, and you don't really, when you start in trophy truck, not behind trophy trucks and legends and one cars, you don't have to worry about that stuff. But we actually ended up staying an extra day down there, marking out with ribbons in case of potential bottlenecks. And I mean, this is one that Score definitely did. It was a tough one. I mean, there was those 3 or 4 sections of the silt. I knew it was going to be interesting. Luckily, we didn't run into anything. But if we would have had some problems, and some other trophy spec guys that I did talk to, they were there. They were there for a good 45 minutes. So just grateful that, everything went together as planned. I mean, all the time and effort, the pre-running, and we had a really overall a pretty decent day. We got 2 flats. One of them I deserved. The other one was on the beach that it was just a slow leaker, and it ended up going. And then we had an oil leak in the front that we stopped and took care of real quick, and that was about it. But it was a good run for sure.
Did you have any moments during the race where Pete would have called you a dill hole?
I thought about that deal hole a couple times. The last couple of races, you know what I mean? It's I know that we had some really, really good times together, and I mean we kind of come from the same, the same background where we don't have a ton of money to be thrown at this kind of stuff, right? And so we do it on a budget, but I've really tried to step it up. That's why I kind of got out of the trophy truck game. They started doing this all-wheel drive stuff. It's like, you know what, this is the trophy truck specs for sure, the class for us, you know what I mean? So I know that he would be super, super, super pumped. I mean, we're fast until something goes wrong in the trophy trucks class, you know what I mean? And we don't have all the money to be, on the cutting edge of, all right, Rancho rebuilds every race. I mean, it's like, all right, we look at it, all right, yeah, those brakes will last another race. So these times will last another race. The train only has 1 race on it, you know what I mean? So you are running a risk when you run it that way, right? I've tried to kind of reel it in a little bit more in the trophy truck spec class, just because it's not so hard on these parts, so you can get more life expectancy out of them. But we are doing a little bit more than we did in the trophy truck class, just because it's failure is the only thing that can really take you out of it.
Right. Lots of good info talking about those bottlenecks. Stan, did you end up getting stuck in any of those bottlenecks being in class 10? You're behind the ones and the
actually I got stuck I didn't get actually stuck in the bottleneck. There was a big one at Melling Ranch, right in the wash there. Kind of getting out of the wash, there was a huge silt bed under that tree, and so I pulled into the wash, and there were 10 cars really everywhere. I was kind of stuck, and and what I did is I just kind of waited for the right time. There was a spec truck stuck in the line. They pulled the truck out, and I just kind of waited my turn, but there was nobody going because everybody was stuck. I think had already tried ways around it. So we just went up the main line there, and then after that, there was one more. There was 3 big silt beds after that, but we found ways, around them all. And the thing about a 10 car is, like, as long as you're on the gas, like, that thing's not going to get stuck, So you just try to find a clean path. You can go over just about anything in like I said, in a 10 car. And that the BF Goodrich tires that we had, I mean, we ran the whole race on the same set, and things are just, you can just pound stuff, like even more than the 12 car you could ever do in the 12 car. You can just hit stuff at unbelievable speeds and obstacles. I ran through several trees trying to get around these silt beds, and the car just kept going. So yeah.
That silt bed that you were talking about up by, I think it was like mile 174 or something like that. That was the biggest amount of cars I've seen stuck. Like at the tracker, I zoomed in a couple of times. I counted over 30 cars that were at 0 miles an hour from trophy truck class all the way to class 11. There was a car from every single class in the race stuck there, and they were stuck behind a trophy truck. But you know, it's one of those things, like, it's all you guys that start behind them. It depends on what that guy in front of you is doing. It doesn't matter how good you are. You got to pre-run, you got to have a way to go around it. But all it takes is that one guy to screw it up for, like, everybody the rest of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I actually had pre-run that several times, and the 2 days before the race, Rossler was stuck on it once. McMillan was stuck on it. They hit the pumpkin on their trucks. So I knew that was going to be a problem, and there was a line that had been marked to the left, and I just took it. I had never been on it, and it ended up paying off, because I think that's where we actually put it in the lead and went and got it up front. So yeah, and then from that point, I just gave it to Freddie at 275, and he's super good at night and super steady and fast. He stretched the lead out and yeah, took it all the way to the finish. And so, yeah, we're stoked. I've been on the verge of tears for about a week, you know, after the race, just because it meant so much to me personally to win that race. And so, yeah, just super stoked.
That's very cool. Hey, Brandon, when
Yep.
you get to those silt beds and there's a bunch of cars that started in front of you there with the 4-wheel drive, can you guys make your way on the sides? I mean, obviously you have to watch out for people that are out there working on their cars and stuff, but can you just creep through it, or how does that work with the 4-wheel drive for you guys?
Yeah, so I didn't actually get a chance to pre-run any of that section between 105 to like 250. I didn't do any of that. So when I got to those sections, it was kind of just wing it. So I pulled into, yeah, the couple that we did get into, I just basically, I don't want to be hard on the belt. So I just put it in low range, look for alternative ways around what's going on. And I have to, you know, learn really quick exactly what to do, because when you don't pre-run, you don't really know what your options are. So the main one, I think that Fish was talking about there in the canyon, we actually pulled down into the canyon and looked up, and that's when I saw the big traffic jam. I was able to just, you know, back out of that area. And my car still got the reverse camera in it. So when I put it in reverse, the reverse camera popped on. I was able to back out of that canyon, and there was some sort of a line to the left, and I didn't know if it was going to pay off or not, but it was my only option at that point. So yeah, I just put it in low range and just kind of creeped around. I was up on this canyon wall and just kind of, you know, going around what we were looking at, and went down into this wash and was able to go around that area. And then that, you know, helped secure our position. But yeah, I just basically pop it in low. I can almost stop completely, probably almost in any situation, come to a complete stop and then be able to take back off again. As long as I'm not, you know, in a deep rut. But if it's in silt, I can basically come to a stop and then, you know, accelerate out of it again, no problem.
That's pretty much what you guys can do, right, Alex? That's no problem. Class 11 there.
We just float valves until it makes it. First gear, floored, just hang on.
So do you guys get to that? You guys get to some of those silt sections, and there's
yeah, my guys got stuck in the 176 bottleneck. So, you know, like everyone was saying, there was 30, 40 cars, no way around in our class, you know, and I think they were there for about 50 minutes before the next two class 11s came along. And then literally there were 3 positions behind us. But, you know, again, you know, there was a truck stuck in the middle, and people were just in line, you know, ready to hit the next hill, and just kept getting repeatedly stuck. And they finally made it out of there, you know, probably a good 2 hours of downtime. And, you know, it was a incredible challenge, I'm sure.
It brings up a good topic. Is there a way to avoid the silt developing? I always say that when people are pre-running, they need to calm down, not spin the tires, come out of the corners, and just creep around. I mean, it's pre-running, not pre-racing. I'm not saying that everybody's going fast, but it seems like there's a lot of wheel spin and tearing up the track. I mean, Jason, you see it out there. You know, it seems like if everybody, all classes, not just the big tires, but all classes, just calm down a little bit in those sections when we're pre-running. They know the silt's going to develop there, but you know, maybe there's a way everybody can just chill a little bit and not make it so torn up.
It's hard, Cam, because you have the, you know, before I would say pre-run at one time, you're probably good. You know what I mean? I mean, I just really, really good notes on one time. And then now those days are gone. You know, you really gotta, I'm not a fan of pre-running 2-3 weeks early. You got to go. That's why we stayed down there. Believe it or not, we were eating lobster and all that, all yellowtail and all kinds of stuff.
Sounds terrible.
And the night before, and we're eating their lunch the next day. But we basically, you know, I pulled out Justin Lofton in a silt section pre-running, and he pulled me out at the next one. So it's like, to be honest with you, I don't really see. I will say this: there was a bunch of guys throwing rocks in the silt, and that one, I think it was like 175, 180 or whatever. There was like it was just a 2-track. There's no other lines. These guys are talking about other lines and stuff like that. There is a line up on the mountain that I walked and went to go check out, which was kind of sketchy, but they were throwing rocks in the middle of the 2-track, and that was the only way. Believe it or not, race day, that was kind of like what helped everything go through there. But when you're blazing and it's funny because you'll go one or two, different lines, and then you go back to the next day, there'll be 3 or 4, because people are just going further on the outside of the lines, and then all of a sudden you just have silt lines everywhere. So I really don't know that there's a solution there. I mean, other than
you have to limit pre-running. That's really the only. But how are you going to limit pre-running in Mexico? You really can't.
Right.
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword too, because I think that pre-running is a big part of the legacy of SCORE, but it also, I believe, and I could be wrong, that it truly helps the local communities. Instead of everybody being there 4 or 5 days, people are there over a 3-week period and spending money at the hotels, the restaurants, the gas stations, and people that work at all those places. So I think it's helpful, but there's I don't know what the solution is. I've been racing for a long time, but I can tell you this: when I get into those sections where I think it's going to be crappy or silty, I just cruise in my pre-runner. I'm just cruising in my pre-runner most of the time anyway. But I just think that together we can all help try not to chew that stuff up. Stan, you think there's any kind of solution out there? I mean, you've been racing this thing for 25 years.
I mean, I totally agree with what you said, Cameron. It does, SCORE wants pre-running to happen. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of people that pre-run that don't even race. They just go out to have fun, because they love the sport. And so I think short of, limiting pre-running, or maybe bringing out water trucks and putting them in the silt beds, because once you put water on those things, they just go away. But short of that, nothing comes to mind for me.
Copy.
There's one solution I think of, Cam. There's one solution. It's called tracks, and you put them on the back of your truck. That's all. That's the only solution.
Yeah.
You gotta have them.
You see them all the time out there. Everybody's running them. Obviously, everybody's had good success with them. I've had to use them. Pre-running, I got stuck, but not in the still pre-running. I kind of stunk up my Tommy washing. So pre-running, of course. Just trying to be careful. Slipped off of a rock and kind of screwed it up a little bit. It happens to everybody. I'm just saying. It happens to everybody.
Yeah, it does.
That's what I'm saying. Fish.
Yep. I think Cameron's Wi-Fi is cutting out a little bit.
Are you frozen, Fish? Look, Fish looks frozen. Am I glitching?
Yeah, it's Cameron a little bit.
You are.
Oh,
Cameron,
man.
you're glitching.
Uh-oh. He's good. He's back. You turn your Netflix off, Cameron.
He's by the ocean.
I don't have it on.
Oh, he's all good. He's back. Yeah, I actually went and pre-ran the course too, and I went on Saturday, the week before the race, and just between being there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then seeing videos on Monday and Tuesday, the course it went degraded so quick, it was amazing. And we were just in a UTV, and we weren't really tearing up the course in a UTV too much, but I don't know. And I do have to say, pre-running a UTV is pretty awesome because those things go anywhere, and like Brandon was saying, you can just stop. You can go in the middle of the silt and just stop and look around and then go again, and it just goes. As long as you don't high center the thing, like, you're good. So it is pretty cool pre-running in UTVs. Maybe everybody should just get rid of their trophy truck pre-runners and go run UTVs. Said no one ever.
Do you think the 4-wheel drive could be ripping it up more than the trophy truck pre-runner? I'm just asking. Just throwing it out.
No, not with the small tires. Not with the small tires. You give me your pre-runner, Cameron. You can take the UTV, and then let's go see who rips it up more.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my pre-runner.
It might go too fast.
I've heard some funny things before, but that's right at the top of them. Let's talk a little bit more about the legacy of winning the Baja 500. That's got to be something that's pretty important. I heard Stan talking about it before, but being able to not only win but finish in Class 11. How many Class 11s finished the Baja 500 in general?
I don't think there has been one that's finished since 2018 is what I just going back and, peeking on all the results and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, like I've said, we race trophy spec before and always had the mentality of winning. And then, we go to this class and really nothing's changed except, it's a lot tougher, a lot more challenges. Yeah, winning it, I mean, I was stoked to win. I didn't think it would be like this big of a deal. I mean, I got like, people messaging and, a lot of hype on the internet. And and memes and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, you know, I just like, oh, you know, sweet, you know, we freaking did it. We finished. It was a challenge, and then, you know, it kind of went crazy after the race. So, it was wild.
Crazy after the race. I like that, Brandon. You've won it before, but winning overall is a little sweeter. I know we already talked about it, but you get in a little bit of an emotional lump in your throat when you think about winning the Baja 500.
Yeah, no doubt. That always, you know, I've had some big wins, but to win the overall, especially with the competition and the amount of vehicles, when I'm saying an overall as far as UTVs, I think I want to say there was, I don't know, 50, 60, something like that. So to win an overall against that many, you know, it sure does make a difference. You know, I remember when we first started doing any kind of score races, I think we were seeing like 11 to 15 entries in each class. And now it's just, you know, it keeps multiplying. Obviously, it's a little bit easier for people to come and race this style racing or be able to afford. I mean, it's obviously gone crazy in the last 10 years since I've been doing it. It used to be a lot more affordable, but now it's, you know, getting pretty intense. But yes, to get that overall, I really wanted one of those billet trophies from Score. You know, I've never really got one of those from them. So it's going to be a nice wall hanger for me for sure.
Right on, for sure. And I know the emotions are there for sure. I saw you already grabbing your throat, feeling that lump, Stan Potter. I've never won the Baja 500 personally, so I can imagine that I've been fortunate to win the Baja 1000 a couple times, and a lot of other races, but never the 500. That one's got to leave a mark every time you win it.
Yeah. No, it's no, it was my first, you know, win. Finished second so many times, and you know, stuff always just melted down at the end, you know, for whatever reason, you know, get a flat or whatever. So yeah, it means just a ton to me. And I think I set out the year and I said, you know, we're going to race the series, but if there's one race that I really, you know, want to win, it's the Baja 500, you know, but of course now I want to win the 400 and then I want to win the 1,000. So you know how that goes.
I hear you for sure. Jason, this one's got to be a special one for you, buddy.
No, for sure. By far, it's my favorite race. Why? Because it's all the races has happened during the day, right? It's not a sprint like the 250, but it's not long drug out like the 1,000. So I'm just happy more than for myself, just, you know, for my team, from the cook, from Tony Trueline that goes with me every race, cooks for us, to my main guy, Juanco, that's been behind me from day one. And you know, the guys that we were on a dry spout there for 2 years or something. You know what I mean? We've led most of them, but we just, for one reason or another, couldn't really put it all together. Things would fall apart, or I crashed on the beach one. I was winning this the year before. I'm sorry, 2 years before the COVID. But it's my favorite race by far. You know, my kids, I got 3 that are kind of on the low on you know, between 6 to 9, and they know I'm going to the races. I'd go to the races and they, hey, Dad, did you bring us a trophy? And all I had was these scored tequila bottles that you know, bring home. And finally I get to bring home a trophy, you know. So it was super special for my team, my family, and for everybody that goes in this part of my program, sponsors included.
Right on. Well, we really appreciate here at Fishgistics the effort it takes to win, the effort it takes just to get to the race and finish, and just sweet to be able to taste victory. Congratulations to all you guys. Thank you for spending the time to come here for
thank you.
Join us on Fishgistics. Love having you guys. And we're gonna wrap it up and head over to the trophy truck, guys.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right,
Stan, Brandon,
thank you,
Alex,
thank you, Cameron, thank you, Fish.
Thank you. We'll
Really
see you guys at the
appreciate
400.
See you guys.
All right, we'll see
you.
All right, let's
that's
swap
gonna wrap
everybody
up.
over here.
That's going to wrap up that segment. And now Fish is going to bring in some of my fellow competitors in the unlimited truck class. What do you think, Fish?
Here they come.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Here they come. So everybody, welcome to segment 2 of Fishgistics Baja 500 wrap up. We are just had a great segment with some of the limited class guys, 4 different winners and 4 different segments. Definitely, I know we don't have any bike guys on here, but it's not because we don't love them. We've had bikes on before, but we'll get back to the bikes here in the next episode. But right now we're joined by, I would call, icons of the trophy truck class. the premier class in off-road motorsports. Welcome Luke McMillan, who was the fastest driver on the day. Larry Rossler, our winner of the Baja 500 and icon to our sport, of course. Annie McMillan, one of the great young upstarts in our sport. Many-time winner of so many races. I'm not sure how many times the Baja 500, but I'm sure a couple times. And Alan Ampudia, who many regard as the quickest racer on the track.
Craziest.
Yes, I'm going to agree with that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, whether Alan likes it or not. But I welcome all you guys to the show. Great history in our sport. I'll start off with that. You know, just having the McMillans, Rossler, and Ampudias all here at the same time. It's an honor to be able to host you guys. I know there's been a little bit of drama around the race, or a lot of drama. I'll start off by saying that I respect each and every one of you guys. And I feel like no matter what the penalty or what happened during the race, I still feel like you guys are some of the greatest in our sport. And that I think a one-time penalty or whatever isn't indicative of what you're about, who you're about, or how you race. Sometimes things just happen along the way. I'm going to kick it off with Larry Rossler, the number 43 Baja Jerky truck. You guys won the race, Larry. You're 64 years old. You've recently stepped out to a new team, so to speak, with Cantina Motorsports, teamed up with Chris Miller in the number 40. New sponsor. I know you're doing it yourself. It's got to be pretty damn sweet to taste the champagne at this point in your career after so many victories, both on motorcycles, unlimited cars, of course, in the trophy trucks. This has got to be pretty sweet, though.
Yes, of course, Cameron. You know, well, Baja Jerky, you got to mention Baja Jerky. They're really the title sponsor, and that's what the team's really all about. Yeah, I've been been blessed with a really good career, and but let me just say this. You know, this was not how I wanted to win the race, and like you said, we all have a lot of respect for one another, and so I mean, I was really happy with our performance. I was the third fastest guy. But, you know, all said and done with the penalties and what have you. So, of course, I'm going to take that. But that's, that's not how any of us really want to have things finish up.
Yeah, well, Larry, I can sympathize with that specifically because, you know, we are on the record books. We're the winner of the 2018 Baja 1000 overall four-wheel vehicles. And there was someone faster that day than us, but a penalty changed the course of the race, something that I actually saw on social media along the way. And I thought there might be a penalty, which I don't think that you were privy to such a thing while you were racing. But, you know, I understand the possible, you know, the feeling of the asterisk next to it. But again, a clean race is a clean race. And I think that's part of our sport and something we need to talk about. And when we talk about the greatest racers of our sport, I think when we're 30 years from now, you know, God willing, Larry, you and I are still around, we're going to be talking about these three guys we're on the screen with right now. These guys are going to be the Larry Rossler of our sport. And I know not perfect situations for any of them, but I'll start with you, Luke. I would regard you as maybe the best in our sport. You and your cousin, Bryce, you guys are definitely the forerunners of the group right now. You ran an incredibly fast race. You and Andy had incredible racing going on. Let's talk a little bit about the racing between you and your cousin. And does it change the dynamic a little bit? Because it is family. I mean, if you're racing against Danny, your brother, or Andy, your cousin, I mean, you guys all got the same last name. Is there added pressure to that, or is there more fun to it?
I'd say both for sure. I mean, obviously the family wants to beat each other. Dan and I are obviously on a team together, and we all share the last name. So but it was a lot of fun. It was interesting for me just because it was the first race in the all-wheel drive. And given that I only had about 100 miles in it before I took the green flag, I'm like, wow, what better sandwich to be in between besides Bryce Menzies and Andy. So that was a little nerve-wracking. I mean, it was an intense battle all day, and I had to just figure out how to drive that thing on the fly. And then Andy was probably 20-30 seconds behind me all day. I'm sure for at least the first half, I was holding him up. And luckily, because, you know, we're the same family, we kind of were raised in Baja together. And I know a little bit about how my cousin's going to run. And I know he's a really smart runner. So I knew he was back there, but I knew as long as I hit my lines and and made some dust, he would probably stay back there because there's, we all know there's no reason to get in a rush and make a mistake early in the race. Let's just follow the guy and see if he can run into a mistake. And fortunately, I didn't until the very end, and that didn't cost me a physical lead or the lead on time by the end. But it was a lot of fun running with Andy up the coast.
Andy, same question to you, more or less. I mean, chasing down your younger cousin, of course, and I know there's definitely some thinking there that you're the experienced one, maybe with more victories in the unlimited classes. But man, he's a formidable competitor. It's tough when you got to race up against your cousins.
100%. And actually, it's funny you mentioned that because the last, I don't know, year and a half, maybe 2 years, it's really been somewhat the Luke and Bryce show with a spray of LR at the 1,000 and Alan at the 1,000 before that. And since 2019, I hadn't won a race. I still haven't won a race. And I knew that Bryce and Luke were going to be setting a good pace, and I didn't want to take myself out early like I did at San Felipe. So I just kind of bided my time and just stayed in their dust and stayed as close as I could, so that if one of them made a mistake, I could capitalize. Neither of them made a mistake. Bryce ended up coming down with some fuel issues in his truck. I think he actually had a slow leaking tire and pulled into a pit around 250 where I was able to get around him. And then when I got behind Luke, once we got to the beach, it's fast, and I wasn't just going to sit there and maybe let him put time on me. So I was running, hoping to catch him. He had a couple really good lines on the beach, which I give him credit for after the race. And we talked about, because the wind was blowing a certain direction on shore. And we get to this field and I'm like 20 seconds behind him and I could see his truck right in front of me, and we switched directions. The wind's blowing across and all of a sudden I'm in blinding dust. And I'm like, why is it so dusty? Like, did something happen to the wind or what happened? And then I get to this fence line and I see Luke's truck and dust are way up on the fence line, cut across this whole field. I'm like, man, that was a good one. But it was, it was a lot of fun. It was a great day. Just kind of a bummer how it turned out.
For sure. And we'll talk about how it turned out in just a moment. I can tell you I was just down there on my dirt bike getting ready for the Baja Beach Bash. By the way, I'll be calling every single one of you guys here on the show and at home for your donations to help Rancho Santa Marta. You can check them out at ranchosantamarta.org. It's a shameless plug, but they take care of the kids of Baja. 250 kids bust in every single day, 50 kids who are orphans living there. But I was on the coast working on Baja Beach Bash stuff, and I noticed you guys had some of my lines for sure. And I was checking it out. I saw that though, maybe one or two might have got missed. And I did notice there was at least one line where only one truck had been. So that was pretty impressive. Maybe that's what Andy's talking about with Luke. But
I know LR hit my line.
Okay, maybe there was two trucks there. So you guys are sneaky. I'm just telling you. But it looked like there was a lot of great racing. I was impressed. There was a couple times where I was out pre-running. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and that. And then I re-looked at it and I'm like, wait, someone's over there. And I was like, whoa, missed the boat on that one. But I had to figure it out. Speaking of good pre-running, the Ampudias have a tendency to do some good pre-running. I know you guys are out there looking around using UTVs, and I know you and your brothers have quite a bit of knowledge of the Baja Peninsula. Alan, it's been great to watch you guys grow up as trophy truck racers, and must have been a little bit daunting to start behind those four-wheel drives or all-wheel drives. What's the right way to call it, Andy? Is it all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive?
I don't know. They call them all-wheel drive, so that's what I call them.
Okay, all-wheel drive. It was a little daunting. You started in the fourth position, is that right?
Yeah.
So how was it? Were you able to stay on the dust of these four-wheel drives?
No, I mean, I started off, I just wanted to, see what pace they were going to run and see how hard I was going to need to run in case they were trying to run away with it. But they were running a pretty conservative, like fast, but where I could stay still in the mix with not pushing too hard. And every highway section, I was like a minute 20, a minute 30 behind Andy, which he was 20 seconds behind Luke, which put me right in the same time frame of the leaders. So I was like, okay, I'm running pace. I'm just going to keep it going. Once I get towards Mike's, I know they're all going to be pitting somewhere in there, 160, 170. And yeah, we were just trying to, you know, make a pass in a pit. Obviously, we all know how that turned out. But I was running a really smart pace, not pushing. I mean, I didn't really see Andy's dust till after Mike's, because I didn't even know he stopped for a tire. But, you know, I started pushing after Mike's because my pit was at Melling. So I was just trying to pass Andy or try to just narrow the gap there. So I started pushing good, and we were in his dust all the way through Coyote, and then, you know, ended our race pretty early right there.
Well, now, you know, Alan, you mentioned that. Now, when you guys are running so close together, it's really hard. I mean, people don't maybe know this. It's how hard is it to pass? It's almost impossible. Like, you're not going to be able, none of you guys on the screen are going to pass any of your other guys there unless someone has a problem. So when you're coming in the pit and you see Andy pulled over, we've all seen the video. You want to get around him, you hit the gas, right, to try to get by him. That's your chance to get by him, maybe, right?
Well, I was on the gas for like 20 miles before that. So yeah, my goal was to pass Andy at the pit. So at El Coyote, all the guys I've been running through there know that it's just a couple of GLs after that big rock on the right. And then it's just flat out all the way till past El Coyote where I basically crashed. So I was full tilt the whole way. Then I went into Coyote, past the fence, and so Andy's still there. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. And then his crew, right after I went, like maybe a second or two after I went through the fence, I saw their crew guys raise their hands. I'm like, oh crap, this is, I don't know what's going to happen, but you know, I was just on it, and you know, he pulled out fast. I didn't brake, but I let off the gas because I was like, if I just don't lift, I'm going to just run through and split Andy's truck in half. You know, I'm coming at like over 100 miles per hour. So I just lifted, and then by the time he merged onto their course, I was pretty close to him, and he was up to speed way faster than what I thought. Like I don't know if I just misjudged that, but he got up to speed pretty quick. So then I got back on it and try to just nudge him, see if he would maybe let me go by. But it was just one of those, you know, I mean, Andy texted me, and thank you, Andy, for texting me and, you know, making sure that we were okay and all that after the race. And I understand that, you know, why his crew let him by, because like you said, it's impossible for us to pass, especially at the pace that we're running at the front, and when all the dust that we create. But, you know, it was just one of those where like he wasn't, you know, he pulled out in front of me because obviously he didn't want to let me be in front of him. And I wasn't going to lift because he's Andy, or I don't care who it is. I'm not just going to let him go run away when they're right there, you know? And it was just one of those. I could have lifted. Yes, I could have, but it was one of those where he was right there. It's not like I was coming through dust like for a mile, you know, it was like I was on dust for like 5 seconds. And then if I would have hit him maybe 2 seconds before, I wouldn't have hit that rock. Because after seeing that video, like I hit his tire because they don't have a bumper. So it kind of, I don't know if it was a tire or what, but it made me like skid to the right. Because I could have made that turn if I didn't hit him, like if there was nobody there at that speed. But I don't know. It was just one of those where it's unfortunate. I hit him, you know, it ended my race. It is what it is. You know, I'm not mad at Andy or anything like that. It was a racing accident. I know they didn't do it on purpose to try to like take me out of the race or anything. Obviously I was not going to not lift and take him out as well. So it is what it is. You know, it's unfortunate that we ended the race that early. It would have been fun to see what happened throughout the whole day running with them. But, you know, we'll be back at the 400.
Yeah, I think it's important to note too that you know, having been involved in that, you know, it's unfortunate. None of us want to see that happen to any one of our competitors. And I think it's important to note that literally a quarter mile after that happened, we make a hard left turn through a fence and it's instant silt bed. And so whoever gets to that silt first between me and Alan, they're going to have a huge advantage from there. And then I knew Alan was pitting up the road at Rancho Melling, maybe 6 to 8 miles after El Coyote. So when I was in the pit, and they're keeping an eye on as far as they can see to where Alan is, he had just come through around the corner as they released me out of the pit. And I was like, well, this is almost the race, because if Alan gets in front of me, you know, that's one position I have to make up. Then I'm in the silt. He's going to put more time on me. Then he's going to pit and I might not get around him. And he's going to get back out in front of me. He's in a 2-wheel drive. I do believe that Bryce and Luke can put some time on 2-wheel drives in that next 30 miles, 40 miles of mountain section. And I was like, man, that was a pivotal moment in the race. Not just for what happened to Alan, but for me too. So for me, it was like, hey, that's make or break. You're going to go for a ride with Alan, and he's going to, stay behind you and try to get you at the corner, or he's not. And he did. And it's unfortunate what happened. And my crew guys in the pit told me right after it happened with the dust cloud that Alan had crashed, and I read it in my helicopter and my pit guys. And I said, I want you to land. I want you to go over there and make sure those guys are okay. That's what's important right now, not me in the race. So just to straighten that up for everyone, that's how it went down. It was racing. Like, it threw me super sideways in that left turn. It was gnarly, but like, that's what we sign up for. That's part of the sport. Like, stuff happens. It's hard racing. You win. Races are down to 3 or 4 seconds nowadays, and you got to go and you got to go. I don't blame Alan for doing it. Like, you see your target, you have a split-second decision to like, I'm going to go or I'm not. That was his time to try and make something happen, and it just didn't work out this time. But I'm sure there'll be another one.
I appreciate the view from both sides. Obviously, I felt a little bit sick when I saw the video personally, and I respect you guys massively. Obviously, I think I understand the going out in front of them. I felt like a little bit that it was overly aggressive on your part, Alan, which I think you already said too. I think that it's just gnarly. I mean, the commitment is unbelievable, and maybe in the moment it's so hard to make that snap decision. I'd rather see you race the whole race and be safe, Alan, than see you crashed and possibly hurt. My guys, when they went through there, I heard them talking about a big crash with Ampudi, and I was like, oh man, I hope my boys are all right. It's like, but like I said, seemed a little crazy to me, both you guys, but you guys are racing for the win. I understand, but in the future, let's try to be as safe as we can so we can all get to the finish line, please.
That's going to be a speed zone there too.
I'm pretty sure there will be a speed zone in the future there as well.
Yeah, it should have been a speed zone a long time ago. We go so close to that guy's ranch. Like, I feel like there's no need to. I mean, that's just me personally. We can run through it at full speed. I don't mind, but I think for that rancher right there next to the cattle guard by his trailer too, like, I just feel like that should be a little speed zone. Respect his ranch a little bit more.
Yeah, I think at some point, that, and I'm not just talking about this situation. I think at some point we as racers and all classes, everybody pre-running and everything has to police ourselves a little bit, or we're going to end up with one giant 37-mile-an-hour zone all around the track. So it's something to think about. And speaking of 37-mile-an-hour zones, let's talk a little bit about Andy's situation. I personally am not a big fan of racing on the highway. I think you guys all probably feel the same. For those of you guys that don't know, Andy finished second at the Baja 1000 and received a penalty for what was considered an unsafe pass on the highway. I believe it was a 30-minute penalty. He still finished second, which is kind of ironic, just to a different winner. But I think that at the end of the day, one of the things, and I know Fish and I have talked about this, and a number of us have talked about it, the racing on the highway is very tough. And, maybe you can walk us through it a little bit, Andy. One thing I did notice about your situation that I'll point out was that you guys were virtually stopped when all this took place. And I know it's just a snap decision. People are pulling out and it's a little bit crazy, but it would be much better for all of us if we could just have a timeout on the highway. Personally, in my opinion, I know we've done it at least once before. It's got to be a hard decision at that moment.
100%. I mean, mile 305, been following Luke all day. I know he's pitting right there. I'm pitting half mile up the road from where you were, Luke. And, there's so many things going through your head. Like, we were just in that wash coming up from the beach back there, up Vicente Guerrero wash. I missed one of the corners. I jumped like a 12, 15 foot by 20 foot wide ditch at like 40 miles an hour, almost crashed the damn thing. Nailed a huge rock with my right front because I was trying to get close enough to Luke because I knew he was pitting, and I was, he was right in front of me on the beach. So I knew if I could get close enough, if they have one little hiccup in the pit, or you never know what can happen, a long pit, or they find an issue or something, that's my time to get around. So to go from, your adrenaline and your heart rate is pinned and you're in the hunt to win the race, you're right behind the guy who started right in front of you, to try and shut that off on the highway and the speed zones and try to keep your truck right at 37 so that you lose as little time as possible. It's incredibly difficult. I don't go there, and it's not my intent coming into the race going, I'm going to, drive wild on the highway sections and I'm going to try and push all the limits and make unnecessary passes. Like, that's not what my intent is. Like Luke's pit was literally to my right about 30 yards. There's a couple of cars that had like come to a stop. I don't know whether to watch him in the pit or what. And I got impatient. I was sitting there and I was like, I can't sit here. He's in the pit. I got to pit up the road. This is my time to get up to my pit. And it was just a bad decision. Like, there's a little bit of traffic. There was a car coming the other way. People probably think it was worse than it really was. Like, I was going 10 or 15 miles an hour going around those cars right there in first gear. But, rules are rules, and we got to keep it safe on the highway and not put anyone in danger. So, I accepted my penalty, and, kind of is what it is. I just wish it didn't have to come down to that, and that didn't affect the outcome of the race.
I think that, the highway sections, and I'm sure all of you would agree, I don't think your time should count on the highway sections. It's my suggestion would be, when you get on the highway section, your time stops. When you get at the end of the highway section, your time restarts. Whatever order you get there in, there's still a speed limit. If somebody wants to go on the highway and they want to do a 10-minute pit, that's fine. But whatever cars go by them at the speed limit, they're now in front of them at the end, right? So it didn't cost them any time to pit, but they lost those positions on the road. When you get to the end, by doing the speed limit all the way down, you restart your time. So if you get stuck behind a car doing 20 miles an hour, you don't care, because it's not hurting you right now. So you're just going to wait till you can go around or they pull over. I think that would be one solution, for the speed zones.
You'd have to have a course marshal deciding who gets there in what order. But if someone gets passed in a pit, I understand what you're saying there. So I think that it brings up some good points. Racing on the highway obviously has changed over the years, and the amount of people that are there on the highway also have changed because the population has grown exponentially. Obviously the vehicles are bigger and faster, but we're going a lot slower than we used to. So Andy, I understand what you're saying, and I wanted to go back. I thought it was a little bit wild, not just for you, Alan, but for Andy and you. I wanted to clarify that I wasn't just talking to you, Alan. But let's get to Luke right now. I want to talk to you about this situation. This is a hard one for me. I think that the onus of the driver, which Andy's talking about, and taking control of your situation and trying to make the best decisions you can, also is on the spectators. And I think that highway is one thing. I think the spectators being right next to the race course, or even if there's two sections where you can see the roads intersect, I think that the spectators should try to avoid those sections, even if it's not the exact race course. I understand not everybody knows exactly where these different lines intersect. I think this is what happened to Luke. There's a couple options there. Luke gets off a line, and most of us have seen the video. Luke, who's never had, as far as I know, any infraction, no knock on him for anything, greatest driver in our sport, gets caught in a situation. And Luke, it's got to be incredibly tough for you, obviously after, but at that moment, with people waving you one way or the other, a guy telling you to go, a guy shaking a tent, I sympathize with you. I was, and I don't know if everybody knows this, I was on the CRB board, so I was a part of some of the decision making. I'll take that, but at the same time, it's got to be a crazy moment for you, Luke, to have to deal with what was going on at that moment.
Yeah, no, it was really unfortunate. Obviously that point in the race, I'm running as hard as I can. The last split I had on my cousin was 1 minute. So we're dead tied on time, and that doesn't make it right. And I popped over that rise. Obviously this is a direction we can't pre-run in, but I popped over the rise on the right side of the tents, and there was a car parked further down that road, so I couldn't keep going. You can't turn around because that's also a penalty. I saw that at San Felipe. We all know that. I turned left, I saw the tents, and my heart just dropped. I mean, really just, I'm sitting there watching it. Duncan's yelling at the people, we're pointing and stuff. The truck's kind of blurping forward, and that's not me scaring anyone. That's me trying to downshift a sequential transmission. In the helmet, it seemed like I waited an eternity, obviously. And of course, my number one concern was if there was people in there. And by the time that the guy in the video walked over and picked up the tent with 2 fingers and started to move it, clicked in my head, there's no one in there. So I went. And I feel really bad about it. It was a mistake, you know. I don't like to think of it in a way that I put people in danger, because I tried to, you know, I didn't just hit the tent blind. I didn't just hit it at speed. I tried to wait. And then once I saw the video, I went, ooh, that looks bad. That didn't look so good. And it just really unfortunate. So that, I mean, that was about 10 miles from the finish, and my heart was just sunk all the way to the finish. I got to the finish and I told everyone right there, I said, I need to talk to Jose. We took care of the people at the tent and everything. So not that anything makes it right or okay, but that was kind of how it went down. And then we lost the race because of a Stella fault. We had 4 minutes of penalties where we didn't speed at all, and then that got reversed, and then we won the race. And then all these other penalties come out, and it just, I guess what frustrates me is one guy got no penalty when obviously someone's affiliated with the race team. One guy got a 30-minute penalty and didn't get his any position taken, which I'm not saying either of those calls were wrong or right, but then I get a Baja 500 taken away from me. And not only that, but there goes my whole season, because I should be leading the points right now. But oh well, it was a mistake, and we're just gonna move on and get ready for the 400.
I would like to say that I do think that, you know, I wasn't a part of the CRB board. Obviously, Cam and Royce, you guys talked about it. I think the DQ for Luke is harsh, in my opinion. And the reason why is Luke has never, have you guys ever heard anything bad about this guy before? Like, never, you know, first time offender, kind of didn't do something right. I personally, if it was up to me, and I would have never wanted to be in charge of that decision, I wouldn't have DQ'd him, because like Luke said, that ends the whole season right there. You know, you take all the points. He's the season champion from last year. There goes the plate. You know, I don't know. I think it was a little harsh. It's not my call. Just that's my opinion. I think the DQ was a little harsh.
Well, from my standpoint, Luke, again, I prefaced it by saying that you're one of the greatest drivers in our sport now and in the future. And I also said that you didn't have any infractions against you. I posed a question, was it too harsh? And I did want to tell you guys that it was unanimous, that the decision that was made, and not made easily. It's something that everybody that was a part of that understands, I think, the severity of that. But at the same time, I think that everybody ended up agreeing with the decision. I won't apologize for being a part of it, but I will tell you that I think the greatest respect for you is in that room. And I think that, you know, I can say this honestly, that in the moment and what you can see all around you is likely different than what we saw in the video. Whether there was someone waving you on the other side or across, or, you know, someone saying there was no one in either tent, or the one being shaken, it's really hard to see all that and understand that. And I sympathize with that. But at the same time, I just wanted to say that there was no malice and there was no harshness on purpose by anybody. It just, that seemed like the right decision at the time. And like I said, everybody was in agreement with that. And I will mention, you brought up a couple other points. Everybody was also in agreement on the penalty that Andy received. We did review the Andy and Alan situation that did come up. There was a lot of conversation about that, and I think there may be some new rules written around that situation. And then, of course, there was another situation with chase trucks on the highway. There was no direct identification for the truck that in the situation where the people were off the side of the road. And so there couldn't be any kind of ruling there. Everybody can have their own opinion. And if you read the internet, there's all kinds of split opinions on that. So in that moment, it's really hard because, you know, in two cases, you have the trucks, you can see the race truck and you can see what the race truck did. You can make a decision. With the truck on the highway, there's no race truck. You can't understand it. And I will say that everybody involved with every situation is a great person and a good part of the racing community. sometimes there's either can be a difference of opinion, a different situation, a different view of it from when you're there or when you're not there. So there's many different things that go into it. And I understand that. And I know that, Luke, you're not happy. I'm not happy. I don't think anybody's happy with the way it ended up. But at the end of the day, I think that everybody agrees, whether they're an internet racer, a racer, or an official, that everybody agrees that you guys are all the greatest in our sport. This is going to go behind us here soon. In fact, I don't even feel great talking about it. But at the same time, I think it warrants talking about. And I think of interest, Larry would have been on the CRB, but recused himself because he was, it was everything that was happening was going to directly impact him. Larry, I know from your standpoint, Scott, I know you mentioned it's not really the way you want to win, but it's also hard to make those decisions on the track. And I'm going to ask you this question because you're not, Andy or Luke, and you've been around a long time. There's a lot of different things that present themselves along the racetrack that can be seen a lot of different ways.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in the heat of the battle, man, it's tough. You have to, we're always making split second decisions. And, I mean, I hate seeing the penalties and I hate being on the pavement. It's a recipe for this kind of stuff to happen, so we love the spectators, but at the same time, we really need to respect them and the country we're racing in and the property. So it's such a fine line. We're racing, track position is so important, just like we were talking about earlier with the pitting, the dust. It's just the speeds we're going, it's really intense. So yeah, it's a tough one. How we can fix it, that's a good question. Obviously we all need to be very conscious of it and do our part.
I think that one thing I will say is that I love the spectators as well, Larry. We're all there because of the spectators, because of the fans, whether they're watching on the internet, on Fishgistics, on television, they're live, social media, whatever it is. But at the same time, I think that fans need to really pay attention to what's going on if they're going to be in the mix. Now on the highway, it's a little harder because it's an open highway. These could all be people that aren't involved with the racing. But I think around the racetrack, I think that SCORE has actually done a phenomenal job with some of the education of what's been going on. There was a time a decade ago where I was willing to put up some money to, get people in trouble for making booby traps. But hey, through education on social media and the video that we've all seen, or most of us were a part of, the booby trap thing has definitely subsided a huge amount. I'm sure we can all agree with that. You're not as often worried about things. Yes, things still happen out there. But for the most part, I think education can help. And I think that in this situation, especially in Luke's situation, I think that if we can help to encourage people, again, don't stand on the outside of the corner, which hopefully is happening less and less, but also be cognizant of where these race trucks could go. And I'm not saying it's a fan's fault what happened, but I'm saying that through education, we can continue to grow this, because I really think that the spectators are getting a better race to watch by how they've been changing the way they spectate. There's a lot less of them standing in front of the race truck, a lot less of them doing selfies, a lot less of, traffic on the road, which I can talk about a little bit later with Nick. Some of the bike guys have told me, but, I think things are changing, Luke, and I think you'll agree that it's getting better, but it definitely can still be better.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And the one thing I think too that we can really control, and all the people, is specifically on the highways, the chase trucks. Like everyone knows about the chase truck incident, right? I actually personally talked to the driver in 2 of those 3 trucks, and they've been around for a while. They know what they're doing. They've been to Baja for a long time. The one has been there for over 30 years. He made a mistake. And what they're doing is something we cannot do. When you guys are driving down the highway in your chase trucks and you're playing the clear to pass game around corners, you can't do that. When you get the truck that's around the corner and they say, all right, you're clear, the guy in the back is listening on the radio, he pulls out and he goes, we can't do that, because you know what happens? I know somebody this happened to. They were in the middle chase truck. The first chase truck went around the corner, not this time, previously. They said it was clear to pass. They didn't see a little local road down the side. A local came and pulled out of the road. Chase truck's coming next, head on, dead. That happened before. And if we keep doing this, it's going to happen again. So stop doing the passing game. I've done it before. I swear to God, I will never do it again after I heard that story. Just wait. It's not worth it. You know, you're going to get to the pit. If you don't get there, oh, well, you're going to get there alive because you didn't do something stupid. That's my take on that.
I always tell my chase crew, if you're going to miss the pit, that's because we made a bad plan, and not to rush. I'll take it one step beyond that. And again, I might be the most conservative guy in the room, but I try not to even cross the yellow line on the inside of corners when it's totally clear, because I think it changes your rate of speed on the highway. I just stay right in my lane and cruise on my side the whole time. And, you know, safety first. And I know there's no exact right answers. I want to skip down to Alan. Alan, the takeaway for you with everything that's been going on, you know, what, being born, you know, having a business in Mexico, being from Mexico, how do the fans there, do you think, are they taking all these different subjects that we're talking about? I'm sure they're watching today. I'm sure they're seeing it online. Where do you think the fans are on all of this?
I mean, there's a lot of the guys that go out to watch, they don't even probably know about this show or like follow any of us on social media, you know, or they don't even have it or whatever it is. You know, there's some places where they don't have that to have an iPhone and go on social media and look at all the stuff that we say for safety measures and all that. I mean, it's part of the sport in a sense, but hopefully, you know, by talking to them, or hopefully if they see these videos, they understand why we're saying it and why we just don't want them to stand on the outside turns, hurt. Because at the end of the day, we're in the safest position in such trucks or any other race cars. But I don't know. It's just hopefully, you know, we can keep just being persistent, all of us as drivers and as teams and as a scores and organization, to keep making the effort and putting the word out to make sure that, you know, all these fans know, and that we're not just saying it to say it or because we don't want them to enjoy the action up close and personal, but, you know, just stand, you know, a couple feet away. Don't do the stupid selfie thing looking away from the cars, you know. It's just, you know, I just feel like we need to keep doing a better job of, you know, communicating those things. And hopefully, you know, with obviously we don't want these things to happen, and me being an example of what not to do or where not to stand, you know, but it happens. And hopefully, you know, we can keep getting better at these things and make sure that, you know, we decrease the level of danger or endangering the fans and ourselves in these courses.
All good points, Alan, and well spoken. I appreciate it. Andy, I see you chuckling off to the side there. What's going on? I got to ask you.
I'm supposed to be leaving for Disneyland here in a little bit, and I think my kids are getting antsy outside the door.
Dang. I don't
a couple of the things that were disappointing at the race for me, and the biggest one being the Stella tracking units. And I brought this up to Jose G and the CRB board after I got my penalty. You know, I've seen someone doing my penalty before, my same thing with an unsafe pass on the highway about 3 years ago to Baja 1000, and it was a 15-minute penalty. Mine was 30. Maybe we're just trying to make sure as the years go by, the penalty gets bigger so that no one keeps doing that kind of stuff. But that was the first thing that raised a little bit of red flag. Like, is there a precedent? Is a penalty a penalty? Is it just always discretionary? That's a follow-up question I have with Jose G. I'm going to talk to him here in a little bit.
And
the next being the Stella trackers. Luke and Ricky Johnson got into a similar situation at the 2018 Baja 1000 because of Stelling tracking unit faults. In the past, I've had a faster Stella unit for the 37, 60 mile an hour speed zones. This race, I had a slow one. So every one. And Luke had a fast one. So we're talking about this. Every speed zone, I'd be right at 37 on my Stella. And he would put 10, 20, 30, maybe more, depending on how many miles these speed zones were. There's 80 miles of them this race. So for that to happen, and you know, late in the race, there's one at mile 4:45, and then there's another one at mile, you know, with 6 miles to go. And I'm leading the race, but I know as soon as I get into that speed zone, I'm going to be losing because of my tracker slow. Because the whole time mine's reading 35.5 to 36.2 on my Motec data, but the Stella thing's flashing 37 at me because it tells you your speed that you're going. And no, it's a bummer that this was Luke, but it just so happened to be Luke who was in this position, who, and I would be the same way. If I felt like I didn't speed in the section and I lost a race because of some unfair speeding penalty, I would fight it to the death 110%. And if I had data to back it up, I'd be going and presenting that same thing. Weirdly enough, in the past, they haven't accepted anyone's Motec data to change any Stella tracking unit faults. And it just so happens this race, we wake up Sunday morning at whatever time, and now the actual unofficial results come out and are posted. And I see them, and I'm no longer in first. By the way, I sprayed the champagne, held up the flag, gave my finish line interviews at the finish line because they were like, Luke got 4 minutes of speeding penalty, you won. And I was like, well, that's going to be matter of fact because they've never gone back and redacted speeding penalties away from anyone. So good job on that, Luke, for getting them to be able to do that for you, number one. But number two is like, this is 2021. This is not 1984. We can't be waiting days for results. There has to be a CRB board meeting with evidence right there at the finish line going, or Jose G just have to have the discretion to go, Andy did an unsafe pass on the highway right here in the rule book. That's a 30-minute penalty. Luke endangered or ran over civilian property or fence or something. Boom, that's a 30-minute penalty. It just seems so subjective that A, this waited so long, B, the penalties were all over the board. Like 30-minute penalty. DQ for Luke was a little insane. Taking him out of the points championship is going to be a great battle with me and him all the rest of the year for the points. It's just like all this stuff and man, it's just, sorry LR for having to be in the middle of it and getting the win. I told you on your Instagram how you deserve it. You ran a clean race. More power to you.
Well, yes, Andy, and I'm going to say, I have the utmost respect, like I've told you and your cousin and Luke, and this is not how I wanted to win the race. I mean, to me, I got third place. I ran a good race. I ran a strong race, and I was on cloud nine, getting third. It was a solid finish, nothing to be ashamed of, and then when all this started coming out, I just like, oh man, I hate being in the middle of it. It sucks.
It does. It's like, it's literally, Luke and I were talking Sunday. We finally talked to each other, and it was just like, I'm not sleeping good. Like, you're reading all the stuff on the internet everyone's writing. I think the lesson learned here, we got to have a little bit of thicker skin and try to ignore all that, but it's hard to, when people are putting your family name down and they're calling you names and literally wanting our heads, for these two little moves that we both made during the race. It's just so unfortunate. So I just think in the future, it could be handled swifter. It could be handled better. The rules could be applied more evenly to everyone, but still props to SCORE for enforcing rules and holding us accountable. And then the Stella tracking units, like we spend so much money and so much riding with sponsors and all this, to have discrepancies of 1 or 2 miles an hour through 80 miles of highway section or speed zone. It's incredibly discouraging going into the next race, into a speed zone. Like, hopefully I get a fast one and don't lose too much time and don't lose the race, because literally 3 or 4 seconds, 3.5 seconds or 3.6 seconds is what this race came down to. And we just got to do better.
Yeah, I actually talked to Jose G about the Stellas also because, I've had about 10 people that sent me things from their cars this last race, including videos and pictures from during the race, and their Stellas were off. One person was doing 80 miles an hour on the highway and their Stella had them at 25. So I'm not going to say who that they didn't finish the race. Don't worry. But so something was up with the Stellas this last race. So hopefully they can get those dialed in, because I do think they are important to have. I think we're past the days of just hoping everyone gets a stub at a stub can, and you do need to have something to keep everyone accountable. We just need to make sure that these units are calibrated correctly, that they work the same, because like you said, 1 mile an hour different on 80 miles, That's huge. That's the race. You can't win if you have a bad unit. You might as well not even go race. You might as well just turn around, park it, and hope at the next race you get a better unit. So
it just sucks
hopefully they
because
can fix
we've
it.
all been on both sides of it.
Yeah.
It's roll the dice on if you get a good one or to get a bad one. So
I always feel like I'm on the other side of it. I always feel like I got the bad one. I'll be going like 36
probably you might have
on the highway. I'm looking back and people are catching me. I'm like, what's going on? What am I doing wrong around here?
I mean, just look at how many people got speeding penalties personally. Like when I looked, and I think I counted 10 cars in the whole race that finished that didn't get a speeding penalty. So that kind of just tells me something probably wasn't right. Because a lot of people have speed limiters nowadays, like all of you guys do. It's actually pretty hard to speed. If you're going downhill or something, you can go over it. But it is really hard to speed nowadays. And a lot of these cars, especially on a flat section, your foot's to the floor, the car's not going to go 37 or 37 and a half. It's going to go 37. So it's impressive to have that many penalties, really.
Well, I do want to give a quick shout out. I think there was 2 drivers in the trophy truck class that did go clean without any penalty at all. I believe it was Rob Mack and Raul Gomez. So worth mentioning that. And Alan, no penalties, no finish though.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So I'm hoping that we can laugh a little bit about it as we move forward. And I'm sure that there's some hard feelings. Luke, I just wanted to go back to you. What an incredible race you ran, bringing new equipment to the race and putting that on the track and silencing all the critics. Like I said, back when you were a 1600 driver, we knew you were the cream of the crop, buddy, and you're definitely proving it every time you go out. I want to say kudos to you on a great race. Was it fun other than the one part that we're focusing on right now? Let's eliminate that part for a minute. Was it fun? How gnarly was it racing against your cousin and all these, what a great course score put together. Very challenging. The silt beds, unfortunately, no rough. Us 2-wheel drive guys won all the rough, right, Alan? But it seemed like you had a great race going.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a lot of fun. When I first saw the course map, I was actually a little bit disappointed in the mileage and then just the amount of highway. And of course that bit us, but the amount of highway and the mileage. But when you turn right into Valley T, from there over to the coast was gnarly. And that was a lot of fun running there. I had a pretty bad pedal response issue the entire race. So trying to learn the new truck. The new truck weighs about 1,000 pounds more. So the braking points are a lot different. Luckily I learned the hard way down one downhill in Mike's because it was just a steep downhill, pretty slippery, and they don't stop as good as the lighter trucks. But that's just something I gotta adapt to. And then learning how to corner it with all-wheel drive, that was a bit of a challenge, especially because my pedal response there was a lack of power and about a 2-second delay every time I hit the gas. The thing would do like fall on its face and then go. And so trying to learn how to drive a truck like that with an issue and with your cousin 20 seconds behind you, that was pretty stressful. But I was pretty proud of the team and myself and Duncan for just staying calm and running the race. And then when we got up to European, that's really where the fun started, because I was really frustrated all day. I did have a bad drive. Duncan even let me know a couple times. He's like, "We're off," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know, we're off." And but we turned in at European, and I just kind of like the 1,000 against Allen. I just kind of clicked in my head of, well, we're not going to sit here and cry all day. Let's go. Let's try to run. And that was a lot of fun. And we finally opened it up and ran really hard. And I felt comfortable doing it. The new truck is so easy to drive. It's so easy to drive. I mean, really, you place the thing right where you want. You got the paddle shifters right here. You're always in the right gear. And I mean, compared to my 2-wheel drive, I think it's part of the wheel spin, maybe some geometry, but it really is just easy to drive. So I'm looking forward to the 400,000. I don't know exactly what our plans are yet with which truck we're going to run, but it's going to be hard to get me out of the all-wheel drive after the 500, because it's, like I said, it's fun. And even I only had 100 miles in the truck before the race. And even, the morning of the race, my wife asked me, "Are you nervous?" And I'm like, honestly, no, because I can keep this truck on the road. I'm good. I'll drive this thing around all day. My 2-wheel drive, I'm kind of like, oh boy, hang on. I mean, LR knows, he's driven it. The back end can kind of take control. So the all-wheel drive's a lot of fun. I did have a lot of fun racing, and I'm looking forward to the 400,000.
I will say that out of, the last 4 years or 5 years I've been doing the live updates, that this race at the end, that last hour update, was the most exciting update I've done yet. You know, to have you guys be so close together and have started a minute apart and be getting people texting me splits of 1 minute, 1 second. I'm like, well, that means they're 1 second apart. At one point, you guys were tied from someone out on the track that sent me a split. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, they're tied? Like, we've never had a tie before, you know? And then coming into the finish, and then, you know, we're trying to watch the score feed, and they went to commercials. And I dropped a couple F-bombs, and that was, you know, that wasn't too good. I'm still a little upset about that, by the way. But, you know, that finish was
responsibility for that.
What'd you say?
I think a lot of the commercials, they were trying to get me to roll up on stage and accept the win. And I said, absolutely not. I just knew stuff was going down. And so I think a lot of those commercials were my fault because they were sitting there, get on stage, get on stage. I said, nope, I'm not getting up there.
I was even talking about before you got there. Like, you guys were a mile out, and I'm looking at the tracker. I'm like, okay, here they come. Like, we're going to watch this video. I'm going to start my stopwatch. When Luke comes across, he's got to finish within a minute, or, you know, Andy's got to be within a minute for the win. And then I wasn't able to see anything. So we're like, oh no. So that kind of sucked. But honestly, that was the most awesome race at the finish that I have done covering anything on Fishgistics yet. So just wanted to say that.
I know we talked a little bit about, I think at the 400 a couple years ago, Luke, how tight that one, the one cattle guard was that we went through. I think you and I both maybe picked the wrong spot. I ended up flatting there. I don't know if you did too, but how tight was that gate after a Combro in your pan? How crazy was that thing?
Yeah, that was tight. I need to swing wide on that one and close my eyes and hopefully squeeze through. So that was super tight. And that was the 2019 500. I clipped that gate, and that was another about tie ball game with Andy and I think he ended up getting me by 58 seconds. And that was, after
it was the exact reverse role. Luke, I was first truck on the road.
Yeah.
Luke was behind me, but had me on time going into European. The first truck on the road, again, didn't really have anything to lose because they were trailing. So like me in 2019, I just took off. Luke this year at European, we got there and he took off. And man, it was the most, like, that last section from European to the finish was the most stressful, like, you know, high heart rate, gnarly situation I had been in, because, you know, we're also catching bikes and quads, and the sun's starting to go down and the wind's starting to die down. It was hectic, but I mean,
do either one of you guys wear a smartwatch? I'm just curious, when you're racing, to know what your heartbeat was.
I was going to, but I didn't. But like at San Felipe, I have a Oura Ring thing, and it goes to an app, and it just has like heart rate of like low, medium, high. And at San Felipe, for those 4.5 hours, it was pinged at high the whole time. Like, I always thought when we raced, and Tavo actually sent me his. He wears one of those Whoop watches or Whoop things, and it tells him what like his average heart rate is and stuff. And I think his for San Felipe was like 158 average, and it's insane. I always thought it was like, oh, it's not much endurance. Like, you're sitting down, you're not really working a whole lot. Like, you know, we're sitting down in the truck, we're not running a marathon. But little did I know, it's a lot more intense than that.
And then there's LR.
I was gonna say, if my heart rate was that high, I'd be dead.
I was gonna say, I think that's LR's max heart rate. It's 220 minus your age, right?
I just got done with a 50-mile bicycle ride, guys. I'm riding motos tomorrow. I mean, come on.
Hey, Larry, congratulations once again on winning the Baja 500. It's got to be pretty exciting with the new team with Baja Jerky. And I know, first of all, tell us a little bit about the team excitement putting this this win together with this new team. But also, I think, you know, you have some data, right? You've driven the 4-wheel drive as well, Chris's truck, if I'm not mistaken.
Honestly, I have not been in the all-wheel drive. I haven't driven a Mason.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it's yeah, I mean, Baja Jerky, Eric Brandt, he's such a big fan of the sport, and we're blessed to have guys like him, you know, join us. So he's in for the long haul. He wants things to be better and bigger, and, you know, he's giving back to already, you know, he's giving back to the sport. So just really an honor to be part of him and you know, that team. So all-wheel drive. Luke's talking about his new truck, and Luke, you know, we can trade for the next race.
I think
my ID truck's only 15 years. It's only 15 years old, you know.
No,
I'm like racing an XR 650 against like a Works 450, Cameron.
I know LR's driving style from racing. LR and an all-wheel drive, that's going to be scary. I can guarantee it.
Well, what an exciting race. And Larry, congratulations. I think, Alan, racing against the all-wheel drives, I mean, you're one driver that has really shown the speed in the two-wheel drives to stay with those guys. What do you think, driving style-wise, obviously you and your brothers have been carrying a ton of speed. Is it something you guys have had to change your thinking a little bit, or do you feel it just feels natural chasing these guys down with the all-wheel drive?
Well, I mean, it's just, you just have to stick to your plan and do what you previously set to do. And for this race, me, just basically the first miles, just see where I was at. And if they were starting to pull out, by El Alamo or any of those highway sections at the beginning, then I was going to have to start pushing. But we saw that, we were still right there in the mix. And then there was no pressure behind, because I think some problems with jacks, and I don't know what happened to the guys behind. It just event for a long time to crash, basically. And, I was just running a good pace. I mean, it was natural to me. It's not to be cocky or anything, but I've never felt like I was like pushing. I never blew a turn. I felt, pretty comfortable in the truck, just doing my thing. And I like, up until before Valet T going towards Mike's, I was like, man, we're still hanging in here. I thought they were gonna it's gonna be like harder to keep up with them, because they were all talking about Luke changed sides and was saying that no chance in the two-wheel drive. And so I was just like, wow, like they're not running away from it. Like I think I'm doing a good job just staying in pace with these guys. And I don't know if they're not pushing or what, but I felt pretty comfortable in the two-wheel drive, and my truck handles really, really good in the really tight stuff. So I knew right after Valley T, it was going to be our place where we could excel more than them, because I know they always talk about how they push, and it's a little harder to like turn around like the tightest stuff. So, we just did our thing. We're cruising, and then, the only little mistake we made was right there getting to Andy. I wish I could have just either slowed down, or I don't know, not slow down, and maybe would have been a different outcome. But it would have been fun to see how hard I had to run to keep up with these guys on the coast, which was going to be the interesting part. I mean, I love the coast. I like to say that I'm fast out there, and we'll see at the 400. I'm going to be out there. We're going to qualify again, so hopefully it's not a lot of sand, so they can just take out in front of us, and it's going to be super hard to like just qualify in front of any four-wheel drive. So hopefully it's an even field and an even course for qualifying the 400. So it'll be interesting. I'm going to keep
Alan, when you say I feel like I'm really fast on the coast, it's pretty serious business, because you are definitely a great young fast driver in our sport. We're stoked to have you in the class. You mentioned Jack's Redline. I want to give him a shout out. Real youngster at 16 years of age coming in. I think it's cool. Larry and I, Larry's obviously a bit older than me, but we can look at Luke and Andy and say, these are great young guys, and to Alan, and then you guys will be able to look at guys like Jackson, the next group, to be able to say, these are great young guys coming in. So it's really cool. And I just want to say, before we wrap up shop here, I have the greatest respect for all of you. I know that even some of the topics that we brought up here might be a little bit hard to cover, might be a little uncomfortable for me, or might be a little uncomfortable for the drivers. But fans, just know that, whenever we bring up a topic or we talk about something, we're talking about this with great respect for each other. I think there's a great admiration for everybody in the room here. I think that together we make up a great part of this desert racing community. We know it's not all trophy trucks. This particular segment is all trophy trucks. As you know, we had non-trophy trucks before, but just know that we're here for you guys, for the fans. And if we bring up hard subjects, if we, make a mistake, if whatever it is, the only reason we're here is because the fans, and we love this racing. All of us could race somewhere else and do some other type of racing, but this is our passion. This is our family's history. Larry's been doing this since I don't know when. Larry, you want to go back to when your first desert race was?
Well, I'm sure everybody's read some of the press releases, but my first Baja 500 was only in 1972.
1972. I'm guessing I was the only one here that was born in 1972. Everybody else still not quite there. Larry grew up racing dirt bikes, and then shifted over to the unlimited trucks. So it's cool to have I guess, at this point we can call you the elder statesman of our class. We're proud of you, Larry.
I'm honored to accept that. Like I said, I've been blessed with a fantastic career, and and to still be able to do it at this level, it's just truly an honor. And, you know, to represent Baja, I can go anywhere in the world and people know me from the Baja 1000. You know, they know me from Baja. So it's truly an honor.
That's very cool, Larry. We're really proud of you and what you've been able to create with the Baja Jerky team. It's great to see you guys having success. Shifted over to Andy, obviously one of the great upstarts of our sport. Lots of wins, lots of credibility. I know it didn't go exactly the way you wanted it to, but congratulations on a great run nonetheless. Showing your equipment, your family's skill and ability.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great run with Luke, and my team, performed flawlessly all day long. They were right where I needed them every time. Put in a lot of hard work and a lot of time away for pre-running for this one. But what matters most is that everyone got home in one piece, back to their families. I know once I got back into the States and saw my kids, and kind of distracted me from everything that was going on, and that was definitely a blessing. So yeah, I care about the future of our sport, and I want Baja Racing to be here for a long time, for generations to come. So whatever we can do collectively to make the racing better, to make the racing safer, is something I'm passionate about, and something that we all need to concentrate on. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, thanks for being fans. Thanks all you guys for being great guys and great racers and great people. And we'll see you at the next one.
I got one more question for Andy.
Wait,
Andy, you got second place at the Baja 500. You were just on the Fishgistics Wrapup show. What are you going to do now?
What am I doing right now?
Yeah, what are you going to do now?
Oh, we're going to Disneyland.
There you go.
Yeah, you mentioned safety, guys, and I think that we could all do an honor for our friend Nick Garvin, open pro motorcycle rider, in a non-racing incident in Access Road. He had a head-on with the UTV. Can't say exactly what happened, but I do know that Nick is now recovering from 2 broken legs and a broken wrist. He has a GoFundMe set up. Nick is a great part of our community. He's a legendary, I believe, 5-time champion Colton Udall's racing partner, and Eric as well. They had a good race, but Nick could use some support, and he's a great kid, known him for a little while. So anybody that can share that GoFundMe, please do. And if you have the opportunity, whether it's $5 or $500, take the opportunity to go to that GoFundMe and help Nick Garvin out. You can find him on social media, Nick Garvin. Hey, Alan, I know we talk a lot about the McMillans, and I'm coming to you in a second, Luke. We talk a lot about McMillan's family lineage in the sport. Alan, your dad might be the most passionate and most stoked race fan, and he's been a huge part of the sport for a long time. I mean, when I go by and I see him cheering and screaming, I mean, he is so stoked. I love your dad. He's helped us out. Your family has helped us out. When the chips were down, they've given us parts. They've helped us with untold things. And I'm just so stoked to see your dad that stoke on his face is incredible. It's got to be so fun to race by the pits and see Rodrigo Sr. just cheering.
Yeah, I mean, he, like you said, he's so passionate. Like, I consider myself very passionate, so my brothers, but our dad takes the cake, definitely. And anything, like, he was the one that made it happen. Like, he's like, I don't know, he's just so passionate and so awesome to, still have him around, and he still puts so much effort, time, money into us in the sport. And I couldn't be more thankful to him. I'm sure all the McMillans, their parents are the same, as passionate as we are, or even more. And yeah, I'm just grateful for him. And yeah, happy Father's Day, by the way, to all you dads. Luke almost, so.
What? I think Luke's married. I was at the wedding, but I hadn't heard any other news. But hey, Luke, I'm going to wrap it up with you here. Great race, unbelievable passion. Your family history speaks for itself. Your grandpa, your dad, your uncle, the rest of your cousins. It's got to be a proud moment for you to be able to step out there and just really be able to shine and show that speed, change the vehicles. I know you're so close at the Baja 1000, actually teamed up with this guy, Larry Rossler, that won. I know you've had some close ones. This one's going to be one that slips away, but man, it's got to feel great to know that you're right there ready to do your job as the future of our sport.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. right now it feels more like another one slipped through my fingers than it does seem bright for the future. But we're just gonna put our heads down. I know I'm gonna be testing the next 4 or 5 weeks in all-wheel drive. You guys know how my brain works. I already got a bunch of ideas, and I'm gonna try to be smart about it because it's just about having a truck that can make it to the finish line. But seems like more and more Mason trucks are coming out, so we're gonna use our shop and our team and put our heads together and try to get an advantage on the competitors and come out swinging and start clicking off some race wins. So that's the hope and goal.
Right on. Well, I'm going to say that I think coming out of this, I think we obviously realize there's some changes that need to be made. We thank the spectators for everything they've done. Again, if the more room you can give, the better places you can be, the more we'll appreciate it. We'll try to put on the best show we can. I think we've all established, and Andy's been very clear on it. I agree 100%. Let's do what we can to not race on the highway. If we can make a timeout section, if that's physically possible, I would support that 100%. And I hear what you're saying, Andy. I think you're a great leader of our sport. I also think that whatever tracking unit we're using, and I'm not saying it's just the one unit because it's happened in other organizations where there's little glitches and differences in speed or whatever it is. Let's try to get those things on point. So we're all racing at an even level, especially when we're in the controlled speed zones. And most of all, let's all remember to have fun, because that's why we off-road race. We started getting into this because there's a smile on our face. I know that all of us are here doing it for a living and working. I know some of us have other jobs too, but this is something that we're really serious about. And together, the 5 of us and the entire community can do great things. And I think if we put our heads together and work with SCORE and the other organizations, more great things can definitely come out of our sport and our group getting together and speaking as one. And I like to see it really focused on safety, as Andy, I think, has said, and all of us. Safety is job number one. And I think that there are some things that we can improve. And instead of, I know people on the internet take shots at whatever organizer or whatever else there is out there. We've all got to band together to try to make for a better race for all of us to be able to enjoy. Not when I say us, I'm not just talking about the racers, I'm talking about the fans and those people at home watching through media. So that's it for me. I think that's enough of Fishgistics. You guys want to drop a closing thought real quick? Anybody? Will let Larry go last. Luke, closing thought as we leave?
To be honest, yeah, my closing thought is yeah, we could all do better. Everyone could do better, but at this point it's on SCORE. Speed zones, penalties, consistencies, and all kinds of things. It's time for our promoter to step up. That's my closing thought.
Right on, Luke. Thank you for that. Alan?
Yeah, like Luke said, actually, real quick, at this 500, I was working really close with the Stella guys because they said that, not to throw Jose G, sorry if you're watching this, but under the bus, but they say that, SCORE just gives them like kind of a file, they throw it in there and they don't really know. So I worked pretty close with them, telling them everything because I rented a Stella and I made sure that all the VCPs were hit. And the speed zones sometimes would start in different areas and all that stuff. So I made sure that they knew that. So I'm going to keep doing it, try to help them out, try to help us all out to make sure that we all get a good file. So stuff like, the shows. So if you guys want to rent some and check it out for yourselves, and then we can all try to, better the Stella. And hopefully one day we can all have, the perfect races. And like you all said, highways, I'm down for it. Let's talk about it. But yeah, it's up to SCORE now. We can only do so much, But thank you guys for tuning in, for having me, and we'll see you at the 400.
Right on. Thank you, Alan. Thanks for making that extra effort. And I do appreciate what the units can do, and it's very cool when they work properly. Andy, closing thoughts?
Not really. Just I love Luke's closing thoughts, so I'll just climb on top of that one and write that out.
Right on. We appreciate that for sure, Andy. Luke, definitely well spoken. Larry, I'm going to ask for a different closing thought. You're the winner at 64. I know it's been all over the press release. You don't want to talk about it, and I understand, man, because I'm following up on your footsteps there. But hey, man, closing thought from a great race and great effort.
Well, like I said, man, I've just been so blessed, and I have so much respect for. We're all competitors, but we're friends, and the sport has just been amazing for all of us. And I can't agree more with Luke and Alan and Andy, everything that you, Cameron, everything that's been said today. And it really is, you know, the promoters need to really up the game. You know, I can't wait for the next race. And of course, I love the fans of Baja and everything that goes with it. So just want to say thank you to everybody and Fish and Cameron for having me on. So really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to all you guys too, for always coming on here, you know, good, bad, no matter what, you guys are always cool and you always come on here. And I think a lot of people respect that about all of you guys. And it is cool to hear all of your stories, because what you see in a video that gets posted on the internet is this is one side out of three. You know, there's two sides and then there's the truth somewhere in the middle. So it's always cool to hear as much information as possible about all these sides, you know. So thanks for you guys for coming on here. Of course, Cameron, for hosting, and you know, let's keep doing some more of these. Let's go have some fun at the Baja 400.
For sure. And I think it makes everybody shine even more brilliant when they can have a positive attitude, even when, you know, things aren't going exactly your way. And I want to say thank you once again. Thanks to the fans for being a part of it. Thanks for your messages that you send Fish. Thanks for the support you send him during the race, whether it's videos, live action, updates, whatever it is. Fish appreciates it. And we appreciate, Austin, your efforts to bring us all together and talk about our sport.
Just remember, you guys are all on video, no matter where you are at any point in any day, even in the middle of Mexico now. Okay, so just remember that.
Right on. That's going to do it for the Baja 500 wrap-up show. I want to thank all the drivers that we had on our earlier segment, as well as all the drivers here. Much respect to everyone. Kudos on a great race all around. And I look forward to bumping a little bit with you guys, maybe rubbing a tire or two and making some dust at the Baja 400. Look forward to that, you guys. In the meantime, be safe, be smart. If you guys have an opportunity for the GoFundMe for Nick Garvin, please go there. If you have an interest in supporting the kids of Baja through ranchosantamarta.org, that's something we're doing, Johnny Campbell and I, and Bulletproof Diesel with the Baja Beach Bash. And we look forward to having everybody's support on those causes. You guys have a great day. Be safe, be smart. And that's going to do it for this episode of Fishgistics Baja 500 Wrap-Up Show. God bless.